The text from my real estate agent came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. The Collins property just hit the market. Thought you'd want to know. I stared at my phone screen, at the address I'd memorized 20 years ago when I was 8 years old, and my family had moved into that house. 2847 Maple Drive. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, finished basement, quarter-acre lot in one of Denver's nicest suburbs. The house where I'd grown up, the house my mother had lived in for 2 decades. The house she was apparently selling. I opened the listing, my heart pounding. There it was, professional photos of the living room where we'd opened Christmas presents, the kitchen where Mom had made Sunday dinners, the backyard where I'd learned to ride a bike. And there, at the top of the listing, $847,000. Priced to sell quickly, because according to the notes, the owner needed to liquidate assets fast. My phone rang immediately. Tasha, my real estate agent and longtime friend. "Did you see it?" she asked without preamble. "I saw it. Your mom didn't tell you she was selling?" "My mom hasn't spoken to me in 3 years, so no, she didn't mention it." Tasha was quiet for a moment. She knew the story. Everyone close to me knew the story of how my family had essentially disowned me when I'd refused to bail them out financially. Again. "Do you want to see it?" she asked carefully. "Or is this too weird?" I looked at the listing photos again. The house looked tired. Paint peeling in places, landscaping overgrown, carpet that clearly needed replacing. My mother had let it deteriorate, probably because she couldn't afford maintenance after my father's business failed 5 years ago. "I want to buy it," I said, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. "Liv, are you sure? That's a lot of emotional baggage to take on. There are other houses." "I'm sure." "Can you get me a showing today?" "Today? Liv, you need to think about this. I've been thinking about it for 3 years. Since Mom told me I'd never amount to anything, that I'd never afford a house, that I was selfish for not giving them money I'd worked my ass off to earn. So yes, I want to see it today, and if it checks out, I want to make an offer, in cash." Another pause. "You have $847,000 in cash?" "I have that and more." "Tech IPO money, remember? I can close in a week if they accept." "Jesus, Liv. Okay, let me call the listing agent. But for the record, I think you're either brilliant or insane, and I haven't decided which yet." "Why not both?" I hung up and sat back in my office chair, my home office in my rental apartment, the nice 2-bedroom in Capitol Hill that I'd been living in since the company I'd worked for went public 18 months ago. The apartment that was perfectly adequate, but had never felt like home, because home, despite everything, was still 2847 Maple Drive. The company IPO had been life-changing. I'd been employee number 12 at a tech startup, back when tech startup meant working 100-hour weeks in someone's garage for equity that would probably be worthless. But our software, AI-powered logistics optimization, had turned out to be exactly what companies needed. We'd grown from 12 employees to 2,000 in 5 years. When we went public, my equity had been worth $4.2 million. $4.2 million for a girl who'd grown up solidly middle class, whose parents had always struggled with money, who'd been told her entire childhood that money didn't grow on trees and we couldn't afford nice things. I'd wanted to share it with them. That was the worst part. When the IPO happened, my first instinct had been to call my parents, to tell them I could finally help with the financial stress that had defined so much of my childhood. I could pay off their mortgage, fix up the house, give them the security they'd never had. But when I'd called, excited and nervous and ready to be generous, my mother had been cold. "So you're rich now," she'd said, her voice flat. "Good for you." "Mum, I want to help. I know Dad's business has been struggling. I can pay off the house, or we don't need your charity, Olivia. It's not charity. It's family helping family. You helped me through college, and now I can help you. We helped you through college because that's what parents do. You don't owe us anything. We certainly don't need you throwing money at us to make yourself feel better about your success." The words had stung more than I expected. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just thought, you thought you could swoop in and play savior, fix all our problems with your tech money. We've been handling our finances for 30 years without you, Olivia. We'll continue to do so. That conversation had been 3 years ago. 6 months later, my father's HVAC business had finally failed completely. They'd burned through their savings trying to keep it afloat. And when they'd gotten desperate enough, they'd called me. Not my mother, she was too proud. My father had called, his voice hollow and defeated in a way I'd never heard before. "Livy, we need help. We're going to lose the house. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. I've tried everything, but how much do you need?" 30,000 to catch up. "But Liv, I don't know when we can pay you back. The business is gone. I'm looking for work, but I'm 56 and most places want younger guys." "Dad, I have the money. I can transfer it today. Just send me the mortgage company's information. Your mother doesn't want to accept it. She's ashamed. She thinks it makes us look like failures." "You're not failures. You're my parents, and you need help, and I have the ability to help. That's what family does." But when I'd tried to transfer the money, my father had called back an hour later. "Your mother won't let me give you the account information. She says we'll figure it out ourselves. She says accepting money from you would be admitting we failed as parents, that we couldn't provide for ourselves." "That's ridiculous." "I know, but I can't fight her on this, Liv. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I even called. Forget I asked. We'll figure something out." They had figured something out by borrowing from my uncle, by selling my father's truck, by cutting every possible expense. They'd kept the house, barely. But the relationship with me had been permanently damaged. Because 2 months after that conversation, when I'd shown up for Thanksgiving uninvited, determined to see my family, my mother had met me at the door and refused to let me in. "We don't need you here, Olivia." "Mum, it's Thanksgiving. I'm your daughter. Let me in." "You're the daughter who thought we were charity cases, who tried to throw money at us instead of respecting our pride, who made us feel small. I was trying to help. You were trying to prove you were better than us. That you'd succeeded where we'd failed, that your tech job made you superior. Well, congratulations, you win. You're rich and successful and we're struggling. Are you happy now?" "Of course I'm not happy. I just wanted to help my parents." "We don't want your help. We don't want your money. And frankly, we don't want you here reminding us of how far we've fallen. Go back to your expensive apartment and your tech friends and your stocks or whatever. Leave us alone." She'd closed the door in my face. I'd stood there for 10 minutes, crying on the porch of my childhood home, before finally leaving. I hadn't been back since, hadn't called, hadn't texted, because what was the point? My success, the thing I'd worked so hard for, the thing I'd hoped would make my parents proud, had become the wedge that drove us apart. And now their house was for sale. The house my mother had been so determined to keep. The house that represented everything they'd built together. The house she'd chosen over a relationship with her daughter. Tasha called back within an hour. "Showing is at 5 today. The listing agent says the seller is motivated. They need to close fast because they're already under contract on a condo and need the cash to complete that purchase. They're moving to a condo. Apparently, downsizing." The agent was cagey about details, but reading between the lines, they're in financial distress and need to liquidate. Of course they were. Dad's business had failed. He'd probably been unable to find comparable work, and they were drowning in debt they were too proud to let me help with. I showed up at 2847 Maple Drive at 4:55, parking down the street so I could look at the house without being obvious. It looked worse in person than in the photos. The garage door was dented, one of the shutters was hanging crooked, the lawn was more weeds than grass. My mother, who'd always taken such pride in her home, had let it fall apart. Tasha pulled up at 4:58. "You ready for this?" "No, let's go." The listing agent was already there, a cheerful woman in her 50s, who clearly had no idea this was my childhood home. She gave us the standard tour, pointing out features I'd known my entire life: the hardwood floors my father had refinished, the built-in bookshelves he'd constructed, the master bathroom my parents had renovated when I was in high school. Everything was tired and worn. The carpet in the bedrooms was stained. The kitchen appliances were outdated. The basement had a musty smell that suggested water damage. This house had been beautiful once, lovingly maintained. Now it was just sad. "The seller is very motivated," the agent said as we finished the tour. "They've already moved out and are living temporarily with family. They need to close quickly, ideally within 2 weeks." "Why the rush?" I asked, though I already knew. Because they were desperate, because they'd let their pride destroy them, because they'd rather lose everything than accept help from their daughter. "Financial difficulties," the agent said delicately. "Between you and me, I think they're trying to avoid foreclosure. They need this sold fast." Tasha and I walked back to our cars. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think it needs about $50,000 in repairs to be livable again. New carpet, kitchen appliances, fix whatever water damage is causing that smell, exterior work." "So you're not interested?" "I didn't say that. I want to make an offer, full asking price, cash, close in 1 week. But I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to be at the closing. I want to see my mother's face when she realizes who's buying her house." Tasha stared at me. "Liv, that's petty, vindictive, mean?" "I was going to say fair. After what she did to you, she deserves to see who helped her, whether she wanted the help or not. But are you sure you want to do this? There are other houses, houses without emotional baggage." I looked back at 2847 Maple Drive, my childhood home. The place where I'd learned to ride a bike, where I'd had birthday parties, where I'd gotten ready for prom. The place my mother had valued more than her relationship with me. "I'm sure. Write up the offer." The offer was accepted within 4 hours. All cash, quick close, no inspection contingency, because I already knew everything that was wrong with the house. The closing was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 2 p.m. I didn't tell my mother I was the buyer. The listing agent handled everything through lawyers. As far as Mom knew, some random investor was buying her house. The day of closing, I dressed carefully, business casual, expensive, but not showy. I wanted to look successful without looking like I was rubbing it in. Though honestly, buying your mother's house in cash was inherently rubbing it in, so maybe the outfit didn't matter. Tasha met me outside the title company. "Last chance to back out." "Not backing out." "Your mother is going to lose her mind." "Good. Maybe it'll make her think about her choices." We walked into the conference room. My mother was already there, sitting next to a lawyer who looked as tired as she did. She'd aged in the 3 years since I'd seen her. More grey hair, more lines around her eyes, a defeated slump to her shoulders that broke my heart even as I was angry at her. She looked up when I walked in, and I watched the blood drain from her face. "Olivia, what are you—" She turned to her lawyer. "What is she doing here?" "Ms. Collins," the title company rep said smoothly. "This is the buyer, Olivia Collins." My mother stared at me, then at the lawyer, then back at me. No, that's not possible. The buyer was listed as LC Properties LLC. "Liv Collins Properties," I said quietly. My LLC. I'm buying your house, Mum. She stood up so fast her chair fell backward. No, absolutely not. I'm not selling to you. We'll find another buyer. Mom, you don't have time for another buyer. You're already under contract on your condo. You close on that in 3 days. If this sale doesn't go through, you'll lose your deposit and probably get sued for breach of contract. I don't care. I'm not taking your charity. It's not charity. My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. It's a real estate transaction. I'm paying fair market value. I'm not doing you a favor. I'm buying a house I want. You want this house? She laughed bitterly. Why? To prove some point? To show me that you can afford what I'm losing? To rub my face in your success? Maybe, I admitted. Or maybe because it's my childhood home and I have good memories here and I don't want to see some stranger living in it. Or maybe because you need the money and I have the money, and this way you get to keep your pride because it's a real sale, not charity. Pick whichever reason makes you feel better. The room was silent, except for the lawyer shuffling papers uncomfortably. I can't accept this, Mom said, but her voice was weaker now. You don't have a choice. The contract is legal. I'm a qualified buyer. You either sell to me or you default on your condo purchase and probably lose everything. So sit down, sign the papers, take your check, and move into your new condo. You can hate me while you do it if that makes you feel better. Mom stood there for a long moment, trembling with anger or grief or shame, probably all three. Finally, her lawyer touched her arm gently. Mrs. Collins, your daughter is right. You don't have another option at this point. And this is a fair offer. Actually, it's generous. Most investors would have negotiated down given the condition of the property. Slowly, like a woman walking to her execution, my mother sat down. The title rep began going through paperwork, explaining documents, pointing to signature lines. Mum signed everything mechanically, not looking at me, her jaw clenched so tight I thought she might crack a tooth. When all the papers were signed and the title rep left to process everything, my mother finally looked at me. You had to win, didn't you? You couldn't just leave us alone. You had to prove that you're better than us, richer than us, more successful. You had to buy my house just to show me that you could. I bought your house because you needed to sell it, and I wanted to buy it, I said evenly. Everything else is in your head. Don't patronize me. You know exactly what this is. It's revenge. It's you paying me back for telling you we didn't need your help. You were drowning. The calm facade cracked. You were losing your house, and Dad's business had failed, and you were buried in debt, and I had the ability to help, and you refused because of your pride. So yes, Mom, this is me helping whether you want the help or not. This is me making sure you have enough money to move into your condo and start over. This is me being your daughter, even though you stopped being my mother 3 years ago. I stopped being your mother. Her voice rose. You're the one who abandoned us. You got rich and forgot where you came from. I didn't forget anything. I remembered exactly where I came from, which is why I wanted to help. You're the one who decided my success meant I thought I was better than you. You're the one who turned my wanting to help into some kind of insult. You're the one who chose pride over family. You don't understand what it's like. Mom was crying now. You don't understand what it's like to fail. To lose everything you've built, to watch your daughter succeed at everything while you're falling apart. You don't understand the shame of needing help from your own child. Then explain it to me. I was crying too. Help me understand why having a successful daughter is worse than losing your house. Help me understand why your pride is more important than our relationship. The lawyer and Tasha had quietly left the room at some point, giving us privacy for our breakdown. Mom slumped in her chair. When you called wanting to help, all I could think was that I'd failed. I'd failed as a mother because my daughter had to rescue me. I'd failed as a wife because I couldn't help your father save his business. I'd failed at everything, and accepting money from you felt like admitting all of that. But you didn't fail, Mom. Dad's business failed because of the economy, not because of anything you did. And me having money to help isn't a reflection on you. It's just luck and timing and being in the right place at the right time. It's not luck. You were always smart, always driven, always going to succeed at whatever you did. And I was proud of that. I am proud of that. But it also made me feel small, made me feel like I hadn't given you enough, hadn't prepared you well enough, hadn't been the mother you deserved. You were exactly the mother I needed, I said, my voice breaking. You taught me to work hard, to be independent, to not rely on anyone else. Those lessons are why I succeeded. You and Dad gave me everything I needed. The rest was just circumstances. We sat in silence for a long moment, both crying, neither knowing what to say next. Finally, Mom spoke again. Why did you really buy the house? I took a breath. Because I love it. Because it's where I grew up and I have good memories there. Because I couldn't stand the idea of strangers living in it. And because I hesitated, then pushed forward. Because maybe I thought if I owned it, I could preserve something of our family. Even if we can't have a relationship anymore, at least I'd have the house. You want a relationship with me? Mom asked, like the idea had never occurred to her. Of course I want a relationship with you. You're my mother. I wanted to help you 3 years ago because I love you, not because I thought I was better than you. I wanted to give you money because you're my parent, and parents sacrifice for their kids, and I finally had the ability to give back. And when you refused, it broke my heart. Mom wiped her eyes. I was so stupid, so prideful. I ruined everything because I couldn't handle feeling like a failure. You're not a failure. I lost my house, Olivia. My daughter had to buy it to keep me from foreclosure. That's pretty much the definition of failure. No, I said firmly. Failure would be refusing to sell and losing everything out of pride. This is you making smart decisions in bad circumstances. This is you accepting help even though it's hard. This is you putting practicality over pride. Finally, the title rep came back in with paperwork. Everything's processed. Mrs. Collins, the funds have been wired to your account minus the loan payoff and fees. You should see the balance within 24 hours. And Ms. Collins, congratulations on your new home. Mom and I walked out to the parking lot together. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in 3 years. What are you going to do with the house? She asked. Fix it up. New carpet, appliances, repair whatever's causing the water damage smell. Make it beautiful again, the way you always kept it when I was growing up. That'll cost money. I have money. And I want to do it. I want to restore it. She was quiet for a moment. Would you want help with the restoration? I know the house better than anyone. I know what it needs, what would look good. You want to help me restore the house you just sold? I want to spend time with my daughter. I want to fix what I broke. Not just the house, but us. If helping with the house is a way to do that, then yes. I want to help. I felt more tears coming, but pushed them back. I'd like that. We stood in the parking lot for a long moment, not quite knowing how to end this conversation after years of not talking. Finally, Mom spoke. You were right. About everything. I chose pride over family. I turned your success into an insult instead of being proud. I pushed you away when I should have pulled you closer, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, too, for not understanding how hard it was for you, for not seeing that my wanting to help felt like pity to you, for buying your house in what was definitely at least partly a revenge move. Mom laughed through her tears. It was absolutely a revenge move, and I deserved it. But for what it's worth, I'm glad it was you who bought it. I'm glad it's staying in the family in a way. Come over next weekend, I said. We'll walk through together and make a list of everything that needs to be done. You can tell me what you always wanted to change, but never had the budget for. We'll make it perfect." "I'd like that." She hugged me then, the first hug in 3 years, and we both held on tighter than necessary. As I drove away from the title company, I thought about the journey that had led me here. From struggling middle-class kid to tech millionaire, from eager daughter wanting to help to estranged child buying her mother's house as the ultimate complicated gesture. Mom had told me I'd never afford a house. She'd been wrong. I'd bought one, hers, in cash. But more than that, I'd bought us a second chance, a way to rebuild our relationship through rebuilding the house where that relationship started. It was messy and complicated and probably not how healthy families resolve their issues. But it was real. It was us. And it was a start. 3 months later, the house was finished. New flooring throughout, modern kitchen, updated bathrooms, fixed basement, fresh exterior paint. It looked better than it ever had when I was growing up. Mom had been there every weekend, helping me choose finishes, sharing stories about the house's history, slowly rebuilding our relationship one paint swatch at a time. And when it was done, when the last contractor left and we stood in the finished living room together, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said, "for not giving up on me, for forcing help on me when I was too proud to accept it, for loving me enough to buy my house just to make sure I'd be okay." "Always," I said. "You're my mom. I'll always make sure you're okay, even when you don't want me to." She laughed. "I'm learning to accept help. It's hard, but I'm learning. Your father is too. He wants to have you over for dinner at the new condo, by the way. He's been afraid to ask, afraid you'd say no." "I'll be there," I promised. "Every Sunday if you want. I have a lot of dinners to make up for. We have a lot of everything to make up for." Bidouche, we stood in the house, my house now, but still ours in all the ways that mattered, and looked out at the backyard where I'd learned to ride a bike 20 years ago. Mom had told me I'd never afford a house. She'd been wrong in the most complicated, painful, and ultimately healing way possible, because I hadn't just afforded a house, I'd bought hers. I'd saved her from foreclosure while saving face, and in doing so, I'd given us both something more valuable than real estate. I'd given us each other back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's proving them wrong while simultaneously proving how much you love them, even when they don't want you to, especially then.